In this lesson, I'm going to explain how you apply transitions between two clips, and if you need to, replace those transitions. In subsequent lessons, I'm going to talk about how you customize transitions. So let's go to Working Files, open up Projects, and open up 0803 Applying Transitions. So here we are. We have 4 sequences here. We're going to work on all 4 sequences. The first one is this flower setting from one shot to the next here, and it's kind of abrupt in this particular circumstance to go from one to the next like that. It's nice to put a little bit of a transition there, so we're going to do that. To apply a transition, you need to open up the Effects panel, and the Effects panel is usually down here in the lower left-hand corner. If you're in the standard editing workspace, that's where it'll be. Otherwise, track it down. It's over here in ours. I need to drag the scroll bar over. There's the Effects tab. Got audio effects, audio transitions, video effects, video transitions. We're going to work with video transitions here. We'll work on audio transitions later. So open up video transitions. You see they're categorized in groups like that. The sort of de facto standard transition is dissolve, and there's cross dissolve. And cross dissolve is a yellow box around it. That means it's the default transition. The default transition can be applied at any kind of a juncture like this, where the current time indicator is relatively close to a junction, just by going Control or Command D. I guess D stands for dissolve, even though you can have any transition be the default transition. If I'm going to go Control or Command D, and it puts the cross dissolve right there, and you can see it at work here. I like that. There's the cross dissolve. If I want to change the default transition, you'd think you would do that inside Preferences, but it doesn't quite work that way. I'm going to go to Edit or Premiere Pro Preferences, go to General, and you'll see that we've got video transition, audio transition, default durations, but it doesn't say what the default transition is. So to find that, we need to go to the Effects panel. So I click Cancel out of here. We change it here in the Effects panel by selecting, let's say, Dip to White as the default. I'm going to right-click on that, and my only choice when I right-click is to set the selected as the default. And it changes it to Dip to White. And now if I put in the default transition here by pressing the down arrow key, well, the down arrow key normally would take me to the next edit point, but I need to have the sequence active here inside the timeline panel. Then the down arrow key will take me to the next edit point. And now if I do Control or Command D, it puts in a dip to white transition as opposed to the cross dissolve. Here we go. Dip to white. But I'm not a real fan of dip to white being default. I like cross dissolve being default. So I'm going to go Control or Command Z to undo that transition. I'm going to go back here and right click on cross dissolve and set that back as the default transition. You can also copy and paste transitions. So if I select this one, and I go Control or Command C to copy, or go Edit, Copy. Now if I go to another juncture or near a juncture, it doesn't have to be right on it, but it's close. I go Control or Command V, which is paste, or I go Edit, Paste, and I'll put the transition there. It'll copy this transition, put it there. I can also put it at the end. If I press the End key to go to the end of the sequence and do Control or Command V, it'll also paste the transition there. You can have transitions between clips or at the end or beginning of a clip. So here we're fading out. If I go to the beginning by pressing Home, pressing Control or Command V there, or Control D to put in the default transition, there we've got that transition at the beginning. We're going to fade in. These are called one-sided transitions. These are two-sided. Two-sided straddle an edit point. One-sided are at the beginning or the end of an edit point. You can make a two-sided transition a one-sided by just moving it left or right. Let's change over to this different sequence now. I want to put a transition here where we're going to a new time. Let's say from autumn to winter here. I want to put a transition that says, new time. So let's go to 3D motion here. I used doors before, but let's try cube spin first. I drag that over there. Notice when I drag it, I can go to center or right or left. That lets me align it as I place it. Now I can change the alignment later in the Effect Controls panel, but if I want to align it such that it ends at the beginning of this next clip, or starts at the beginning of the next clip, that's something you can do right here. But I'm just going to put it in the center, which is the default thing. There you go. And this is that transition. Looks like so. Okay. But if I want to replace that transition with something else, I could try curtain instead. Let's say, put curtain there. See how that looks? Okay, opens up to the next scene. There we go. If I want to delete a transition, I can just click it to make it active, and then press the delete key or the backspace key. Either one will get rid of it. So that's how you can replace the transition and or delete it. We drag doors over there. This is what we had before when I demonstrated this. Here are those doors. Now they're closing. You can switch that to opening. I'm going to show you how to do that in the next lesson. Let's go to the similar scenes here where I wanted to go from one to the next. It's nice to be able to make something obvious when you go from one scene to the next. So let's use iris instead. Iris has some obvious effects. We'll try iris cross. We'll drag that there. Iris cross has this kind of 4 boxes going across it like that. If I want to replace it with iris diamond, that too will start something toward the center. We can adjust the exact location of these guys inside the Effect Controls panel. I'll show you that next time. I'm going to go to iris star. Let's replace it by dragging it over like that. There you go. And finally, let's go on to this matching on-screen action. We'll talk about using a wipe here. So we'll go down to wipe. And we'll take a look at just the wipe transition. Drag it there. We'll see that wipe will more or less match the action of the bicycle riders here, from left to right. But we can fine-tune that when we customize it in the next lesson. Let me just show you a few more transitions so you get a sense of what else is out there. You saw 3D motion, you saw dissolve, you saw iris. There we go. Let's talk about page peel. You got a center peel. There we go. Look at that. Pretty cool. And the peels all work like that. Roll away, similar. But this one actually lets you see the back side of the clip, like that. The slides can move things in and out. We did a swap before when I did the demonstration. Here's what a swap looks like, where you got one guy kind of swapping out for the other one. Like 2 cards are being flipped around like that. Look at sliding boxes instead. I'm showing you all these examples, and my guess is the more you see, the more likely it is that you're going to want to use them all the time. But my admonition remains the same. Do use transitions with restraint.